My son-in-law turned off the TV I was watching, threw the remote in the trash can next to the couch, and said, "This isn't a nursing home. Either contribute or get out." My daughter Adrienne stood 3 feet away in the kitchen doorway. She looked at her coffee mug. I smiled. I said, "You're right, Damon. This isn't working." Then I walked to my room and picked up the suitcase I had packed 5 days ago. My name is Clifford Grayson. I'm 67 years old. For 2 years, I lived in the guest room of my daughter's house. A house I bought. A house I put in a trust. A house whose mortgage, utilities, HOA fees, and maintenance bills were all quietly paid every month through a holding company Damon Powell had never heard of. To Damon, I was a retired electrician with a small pension and calloused hands. An old man taking up space. Nobody worth thinking about twice. That was exactly what I needed him to think. I started Grayson Electrical out of the back of a pickup truck when I was 32. For the first 18 months I slept in that truck 4 nights a week. I ate gas station food. I worked 14-hour days and didn't complain about any of it because I could see where it was going. By the time I was 45, we had 40 employees and maintenance contracts with 3 major hospitals in Atlanta. By 55, I owned 8 commercial buildings across the metro. Office parks, light industrial spaces, 2 mixed-use properties near downtown. I never talked about any of it. My late wife, Loretta, used to say I was allergic to bragging. She wasn't wrong. I drove the same truck for 11 years after I could have driven anything I wanted. Didn't see the point in advertising. When Loretta passed 4 years ago, I was alone in a big house with too many rooms and too many quiet evenings. Adrienne called every week. She asked me to move in, said it would be good for all of us. I said yes, but not because I needed a roof over my head. Something in her voice told me things weren't right. I wanted to see her life up close. What I saw made my stomach turn. Damon Powell called himself a financial advisor. He wasn't. He was a failed insurance broker carrying $85,000 in personal credit card debt who wore expensive shirts and talked about money the way men do when they've never had to earn any through hard work. He had a business card, a rented office, and not much else. He treated Adrienne like a prop at the dinner parties he liked to throw. He talked over her. He made decisions without asking her. And from the first week I moved in, he treated me like an inconvenience he was too polite to throw out directly. That changed over time. The politeness wore off. My old friend Gerald Hartley had been my lawyer for 30 years. He helped me set up every trust, every holding company, every piece of the structure that kept my assets quiet and protected. When I told Gerald what I was seeing, he said one thing: document everything, so I did. For 18 months, I kept notes. Dates, times, what was said, what wasn't said. Gerald told me to be patient. The right moment would come. It came on a Tuesday morning in October. I was sitting in the living room watching the news. Damon walked in without saying good morning, crossed the room and turned off the TV. Not the volume, the TV itself. Then he picked up the remote and dropped it in the trash can. Slow, deliberate. He wanted me to see it. He turned around and said, "I've been patient with you, Clifford. You sit here all day and you contribute nothing. I work, Adrienne works, and you just take up space. I'm done with it. Either start pulling your weight around here or find somewhere else to go. I'm giving you until the end of the week." I looked past him at Adrienne. She was still standing in the kitchen doorway. She didn't move. She didn't say a word. I sat with that for a second, not because I was hurt, because I wanted to remember exactly how it felt, the dismissal in his voice, the way Adrienne looked at the floor. I wanted it burned into my memory, so I would never second-guess what came next. I said, "You know what, Damon? You're right. This arrangement isn't working." He smiled. He thought he'd won something. I stood up, walked down the hall to the guest room, opened the closet, and picked up the leather suitcase sitting right inside the door. Already packed. I had packed it 5 days ago, the night Damon made a comment at dinner about people who contribute nothing while looking straight at me. That was when I knew we were close. I just needed him to say it out loud so there'd be no ambiguity later. I took one last look around the room. Bed made. Surfaces clean. I left nothing behind. I walked back through the living room. Damon was pouring himself coffee. Adrienne hadn't moved. I didn't say goodbye to either of them. I walked out the front door, down the driveway, and out to the curb. 60 seconds later, a black Lincoln pulled up. Curtis, my driver of 22 years, stepped out and took my bag without a word. "Good morning, Mr. Grayson." "Good morning, Curtis." The Ritz. I didn't look back at the house. I already knew what it looked like. I signed the check for it. I called Gerald from the back seat before we hit the first light. "It's done," I said. "Start phase 1. He didn't ask any questions. We had talked through this moment a dozen times over the past year. He knew exactly what to do. By the time Curtis pulled up to the Ritz-Carlton and the door was opened for me, the financial infrastructure of Damon Powell's life was already coming apart. Here's what Damon never figured out. Every credit card in his wallet, the lease on his BMW, the mortgage on that house, the HOA fees, the electricity, the water, the internet, all of it traced back to accounts I controlled through a holding company registered in Delaware. He thought he was a provider. He thought he was the one keeping the lights on. He was a tenant who had never bothered to find out who owned the building. 7:12 a.m. His Amex card declined at Starbucks. 7:45 a.m. A notice from BMW Financial Services, 60 days past due on the lease. News to him, 8:30 a.m. The HOA sent an email. 4 months of unpaid community fees. 9:15 a.m. The bank called about the mortgage. I was having eggs and reading the paper at the hotel restaurant. Gerald texted me the updates one by one. I didn't feel joy exactly. I felt something quieter, like watching a circuit breaker do exactly what it was built to do. I spent 35 years wiring buildings. I understood systems. I understood that when you remove the source, everything downstream goes dark. That is not cruelty. That is just how electricity works. By noon, Damon had worked out the accounts were frozen. By mid-afternoon, he was on the phone with banks screaming about fraud and identity theft. That evening, he and Adrienne sat in a dark house eating cold cuts by candlelight because the electricity account was in my name, and I had closed it that morning. Adrienne called me 11 times. I let everyone go to voicemail. Then Damon made his next move. He hired a private investigator to find me. It took the man 2 days. When he reported back that I was staying at the Ritz-Carlton, Damon told Adrienne I was burning through my pension on some kind of breakdown, that I had lost my mind, that they needed to get me help before I wasted everything. He actually believed that. That part still gets me. He tracked down a doctor named Pruitt. This was a man who had lost his medical license years earlier, but still ran a cash-only private practice out of the back of a strip mall. Damon paid him $4,500 to fill out a psychiatric evaluation declaring me mentally incapacitated. The diagnosis listed paranoid delusions, acute confusion, and an inability to manage personal affairs. It said I believed I owned commercial real estate. It said I believed I was a successful businessman. It said I was a danger to myself. He wanted to file for emergency guardianship. He wanted legal control over my finances. He wanted access to what he assumed was a modest pension account that I had been quietly saving for years. What he did not know was that 3 weeks before the morning with the remote, I had spent a full day at Atlanta General Hospital with Dr. Aubrey, the chief of neurology. Complete cognitive evaluation, MRI scans, full battery of memory and logic assessments, a 90-minute interview panel with 3 psychiatrists. I walked out with a notarized affidavit signed by Dr. Aubrey stating I was functioning in the 98th percentile for cognitive ability in my age group. Sharp as ever, the doctor said. Full legal capacity. No question about it. I handed that document to Gerald the same afternoon. Damon was building a trap. He was building it right on top of one I had already set. He also hired a cut-rate lawyer named Saul Briggs to draft a forged business transfer document. The paperwork would hand over Grayson Electrical and Properties valued at around $800,000 to Damon Powell as agreed compensation for elder caregiving services rendered. Gerald spotted 3 federal fraud violations in the document in under 10 minutes. The notary stamp was expired by 6 years. The signature did not match a single document I had ever signed. One phone call to the FBI Financial Crimes Division. That was all it took. About a week after I left, Damon also decided to go looking for me in person. He had gotten it into his head that I was hiding money somewhere in the old neighborhood where I grew up on the south side. He drove Adrienne's car down there one afternoon. Convinced I had a secret apartment or a storage unit stuffed with cash, he knocked on doors, he asked around. He stood on a corner and questioned a woman named Paulette who ran a laundry business on the block. Paulette had been a tenant of mine for 9 years. She rented the ground floor of a building I owned 2 streets over. She looked at Damon in his wrinkled dress shirt asking about a retired electrician, and she said, "Honey, the man you're describing owns 4 buildings on this block alone. He hasn't rented an apartment since the 1990s. Damon told her she was confused. He drove home and told Adrienne that I had probably paid people to lie for me. That is the thing about a man like Damon. The truth was right in front of him the whole time. He just could not let himself see it, because seeing it would mean admitting what he actually was, and that was the one thing he was never going to do. Meanwhile, I was sitting in the presidential suite on the 18th floor reading the paper and waiting for the next piece to fall into place. It did not take long. Adrienne found the pawn receipt on a Thursday evening. She was getting ready for a friend's dinner and went looking for her wedding ring. She checked the jewelry box. She checked the bathroom counter. She checked the nightstand drawer on her side of the bed. Nothing. She went around to Damon's nightstand and opened the top drawer. The receipt was sitting right on top. A pawn shop on Piedmont Road, dated 11 days earlier. 1 diamond solitaire engagement ring, $3,500. Damon had sold her ring. The ring I paid for. The ring he put on her finger the day he proposed and spent the next 6 years taking credit for buying himself. She called me that night. It was the first time in 3 weeks she had called without anger in her voice. She didn't say much at first, just sat on the line quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Dad, I think I made a mistake," I said. "I know. I've been waiting for you to see it." She asked me what she was supposed to do now. I said nothing tonight, just sit with it. 2 weeks later was the Atlanta Business Charitable Foundation annual gala at the St. Regis Hotel. 400 guests. The kind of room where the mayor sits at table 3, and nobody at table 99 matters to anyone. I had been asked to speak that evening as the keynote for the foundation's new capital campaign. Somehow Damon had gotten his hands on a pair of tickets. I found out later he bought them from a scalper in the parking lot for $9,000 cash. He borrowed from a colleague. He brought Adrienne. He told her this was their way back, that he was going to find an investor at this event, pitch his advisory firm, and fix everything. He had no idea I was going to be standing at the podium. I wore the charcoal suit Loretta always said made me look like I owned the room. Curtis drove me around to the service entrance so I could go in through the back and be seated before the main doors opened. I did not want Damon to see me arrive. The room filled up. I watched from the side of the stage. I saw Damon and Adrienne walk in. Damon was scanning the room looking for targets, looking for money, looking for a lifeline. He had on a suit that was too tight across the shoulders. Adrienne looked pale. They were seated at table 99, near the kitchen. When the master of ceremonies stepped to the podium, he introduced the foundation's work, and then moved to introducing me. He talked about Grayson Electrical starting as a one-man operation out of a pickup truck. He talked about the hospital contracts, the commercial properties, 35 years of building Atlanta. And then he mentioned, almost as a footnote at the end, that the foundation's legal counsel had confirmed an ongoing federal investigation into a fraudulent business transfer filed under my name, and that the individual named in the filing was expected to be formally charged within 30 days. He did not say Damon's name. He did not need to. I walked out from the side of the stage. The room applauded. I stepped to the microphone and looked out at 400 people. I found Damon's face in about 4 seconds. I watched the color drain out of it. He had heard the word fraudulent. He had heard federal investigation. And now he was looking at the retired electrician he had thrown out of his own house standing at the podium of the most important room in Atlanta, while the governor sat 20 feet to my left. He stood up. I saw him say something to Adrienne. He started working his way through the tables toward the stage. 2 members of the security team were already moving to intercept him before he got within 30 feet of the stairs. They reached him quietly. They took him gently by each arm. They walked him toward the side door without a word exchanged. No scene, no shouting, no drama. Just a man being walked out of a room he never belonged in. Adrienne did not follow him. She sat at table 99 with her hands folded in her lap and stared at the tablecloth until the room's attention shifted back to the stage. I turned back to the microphone and said, "Now let's talk about what we're building next." The applause that followed was the loudest I had heard in a long time. The federal case moved quickly after that. Gerald had everything organized and ready to hand over. The forged documents, the expired notary stamps, the mismatched signatures, the payment records to Saul Briggs, the payments to Dr. Pritt, all of it documented and time-stamped. At trial, Gerald stood up and told the court he wanted to read a letter into the record. He said it was written by me and had never been sent. He asked the judge's permission, and the judge nodded. Gerald opened a plain white envelope and read, "Adrienne, I know what Damon is doing. I know he is using our relationship to keep me close enough to control. I'm not angry at you. I know he has been working on you for years, and I know how good he is at making people see what he wants them to see. I'm not leaving because I'm giving up. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to see the truth with your own eyes, because that is the only way it will stick. When you're ready, I'll be here. The courtroom was completely still. A woman in the second row put her hand over her mouth. Adrienne, sitting in the back, put her face in her hands. Damon stared at the table in front of him and did not move. The jury was out for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: financial fraud, elder financial exploitation, and forgery. 3 years in state prison. Full restitution of $107,000 covering damages, legal costs, and recovery of misappropriated funds. His financial advisory license revoked permanently. Damon did not scream. He did not beg. He sat at the defense table and stared at the wall behind the judge like a man who had finally run out of things to say. The bailiff came over, and that was that. I watched them lead him out. I felt nothing dramatic, just the quiet satisfaction of a job that took a long time and finally got finished. Adrienne was in the hallway outside the courtroom when I came through the door. She had been sitting in the back row for the entire trial, alone in a plain dark dress. She looked like she hadn't been sleeping well. Probably hadn't. She said, "I'm sorry, Dad. I saw what was happening and I told myself it wasn't that bad. I told myself you were tough and you could handle it and it wasn't my place to get in the middle. I told myself a lot of things. I said, I know you did." She asked if I would help her get back on her feet. I said, "You have a degree I paid for and a car that's yours free and clear. That's your starting line. The rest is yours to build." She nodded. No argument, no pushback, just a nod like she finally understood what that sentence meant. Before she walked to the parking lot, I said one more thing. I said, "Call me when you're ready, not before." She drove away. I stood outside the courthouse for a few minutes in the afternoon sun. Then I had Curtis take me home to the boat. I keep a cabin cruiser docked outside Savannah. Named her Loretta after my wife passed. That evening I sat on the back deck with a small glass of bourbon and watched the sun go down over the water. I didn't think about Damon, or the trial, or the buildings, or the contracts. I just sat there and let things be quiet for a while. It had been a long couple of years. About a week after the verdict, I did something I had been thinking about since the day of the trial. I asked Gerald to bring me the original copy of my will, the one that left everything to Adrienne. I had Adrienne come to the boat. She didn't know why I called. She sat across from me at the small table on the deck and I put the document down between us. I said, "I want you to see this." She looked at it. She recognized what it was. I picked it up, held it over the small charcoal grill I use for cooking fish, and I let it catch. We both watched it burn down to nothing. I didn't say a word. She didn't either. What she didn't know, and what I never told her, was that Gerald had already drawn up a new will the week before. Everything still went to Adrienne. Nothing had changed. I just needed her to sit with the possibility that it might have. I needed her to understand that what I gave her was never guaranteed. It was always a choice I made. Every day, she never asked me about a new will. I never brought it up. That was how I wanted it. 6 months went by. Adrienne got a job managing a small cafe on the east side of Atlanta. She rented a studio apartment. Nothing fancy. She took the bus to work 3 days a week. She stopped calling me asking for things. When she called, she just talked. About her regulars at the cafe, about a little patch of dirt behind her building where she was trying to grow tomatoes, about a book she was reading. Normal things. Good things. Then one afternoon, Gerald brought a plain white envelope to the boat. Grocery store stationery, no return address. Atlanta postmark. Inside was a handmade card on the front. A pencil drawing of a bowl of oatmeal with a spoon. Simple lines, a little uneven, done carefully. I opened it. Dad. This is the first $50 I saved after paying off my last credit card. Took me 6 months. I manage the cafe now, and I have a small garden out back. The tomatoes are not great yet, but they are mine. I know $50 is nothing compared to everything you gave me my whole life, but it is clean money, and it is mine, and I want you to have it. I am sorry. Not about the house or the money or any of that. I am sorry for standing in that kitchen and saying nothing when I should have said everything. Come to breakfast, my treat. I make good oatmeal now. Love, Adrienne. I sat with that card for a long time. Read it twice, then a third time. 35 years. 8 buildings, hospital contracts. A federal fraud case with my name in the filing. Half of Atlanta has Grayson wire running through its walls. None of it hit me the way that $50 did. I put the check in my wallet next to the photo of Loretta I have carried since 1987. Then I called Curtis. Tomorrow morning, I said. I've got breakfast with my daughter. If you have ever worked your whole life and had someone close to you treat that work like it was nothing, you already know this story. If you have ever stayed quiet when you could have said plenty and waited because you knew the truth would do the work on its own schedule, you know exactly what I mean. Some men prove themselves by being loud. Others build something real and let it stand on its own. You don't have to explain yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You just have to wait. And when the moment comes, you pick up your bag and you walk out the door. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment below. Tell me about a time you had to let someone fall before they could learn to stand. I read every one.